Hello everyone. Welcome to the session of Theory of Computation or Formal Languages and Automata Theory. In today's session, we are going to discuss about the Turing machine basics concepts. So we will start our discussion with the syllabus of Unit 5 as per JNTUK Kakinada. So this is the syllabus of Unit 5. Uh, in this unit, we are going to discuss about the Turing machine, what is meant by Turing machine, its definition. Then we'll discuss the model of Turing machine, representation of Turing machine, instantaneous description. That means how to represent the configuration of Turing machine by using this instantaneous descriptions. That's we will discuss about the transition tables and transition diagrams. Then we will see the language of Turing machine. That means how to represent the language acceptance by a Turing machine in a mathematical form. Next, we will see how to design the Turing machine for the different languages. Okay. Then we will see the types of Turing machine, followed by Judd's thesis, and then we will discuss about the universal and restricted Turing machines. Okay, and then we will discuss about the computational problems, like what is meant by decidable and undecidable problems. We will see the difference between these categories of the problems. Okay, and then we will also see the most important concept, like halting problem of Turing machines. Then we will discuss about the post correspondence problems. Then modified post correspondence problem. Then we will categorize the problems as P, NP, NP hard, and NP complete. Okay. So totally in this unit we are having the two parts. The first part we are going to discuss about the Turing machine, and we will see how to implement the Turing machine for the different languages. Okay, and then the second part is about the computational problems, where we will see what are the differences between these decidable and undecidable problems, halting problem of Turing machine, post correspondence problem, and then we will classify the computational problems as classes like P, NP, NP hard, NP complete, like. Okay, so this is the total topics. These are the total topics that we are going to discuss in this particular unit. So let me start with the Turing machine. So here, Turing machine was first proposed by Alan M. Turing in year 1936. Okay, so it was designed with the following goals. Okay, so generally, as I mentioned earlier, that Turing machine is the most powerful automaton. Why? Because here there is one hypothesis proposed by Alan M. Turing, like any problem that could be solved by a Turing machine could also be solved by a computer. Okay, so we will discuss about this hypothesis in the coming classes. Okay, in coming session. So just why I am saying that the Turing machine is more powerful automaton is because it can accept any type of language, and moreover it can perform any computation. Okay, so we will discuss both the things clearly in the coming session. So just time being, remember that it is most powerful. Why? Because it accepts more complex languages, as well it performs the computations too. Okay, so the Turing machine was designed with the following goals. The first one is a model that can compute anything that a human can compute. So this is the point that I was mentioning here, that the Turing machine can perform any computation that can also be performed by a human being. Okay. And next one, the model should be as simple as possible. So that means the Turing machine was designed by considering this second point, like the Turing machine must be a simple model, so it should not be the complex one. So that is the point number two. It is saying that Turing machine must be as simple as possible. Okay, and next one is that they should be general as possible in terms of computations they can carry out. Okay, so it is like just like how do we perform the normal computations, like that the same type of computations should be performed in a general way by the Turing machine. Okay, so it should be as general as possible in terms of computation they can carry out. So these are the three main points or main goals by considering which the Turing machine was proposed in the year 1936 by Alan M. Turing. Right. So next one, this Turing machine accepts type 0 languages or recursively enumerable language, right? So we have seen in the previous sessions that finite automata will accept a regular language, okay? And next one is that we have seen that push-down automata will accept this context-free languages, right? And linear bounded automata will accept context-sensitive languages, and now the Turing machine that we are having, it accepts recursively enumerable languages, right? So these recursively enumerable languages are called as type 0 languages. Okay, so this is the thing that came out from this Chomsky hierarchy. So already we discussed that what is meant by type 0 grammar, what is meant by type 0 language, and which automata is accepting those set of languages, like, okay. So if you are having any confusion related to this type 0, type 1, type 2, type 3, you may refer to the Chomsky hierarchy. Okay. And next one, Turing machine works as input output device and also language acceptor. So just now I mentioned this point that Turing machine will work as a language acceptor as well as it works as a computational device, right? So by using this Turing machine, we can accept a particular language, or we can design a Turing machine that accepts a particular language, and the Turing machine can also be used for performing some sort of computation, right? So the computation here means it could be any arithmetic operation, so that takes some input and produce some sort of output, right? So here the Turing machine will work as a IO device. IO device means it is something like a computational device or computational like model. And next one is that it could also be work as a language acceptor. Okay, so you may give a particular string, and it can come out with a decision whether it is accepted or not, right? So both the things that we can implement by using this Turing machine. So next one, a Turing machine is a kind of state machine. Okay. So state machine means we could say it is a something like a state transition machine, in which the state transitions are performed by considering the input symbols uh, as well. Okay. Next one, at any time the machine is in any of one of the finite number of states. Okay, so instructions for a Turing machine includes the specification of conditions under which the machine may transition from one state to another state. So this is how we represent these concepts in a form of the state transition diagram, right? So already we know that state transition diagram consisting of set of states and transitions on input from one state to the another state. So how do we specify those such of states and transition means it depends upon the given problem. Okay, so that number of states and the transitions will vary with respect to the problems. Okay, next one, so components of Turing machine. So here the Turing machine consisting of three components. Basically the first one is tape, input tape. So here one important property of the Turing machine here is that it is having infinite tape. Infinite tape. Infinite tape. Okay, infinite tape. So till now we have seen that finite tape, right? So the automata that we consider till now are having that finite tape, but here we are considering that the tape is infinite, right? So in infinite tape will be there. The next one is we are having a read head, read write head. Okay, so we are going to have some tape head that is used for performing the read operation. And next one is we are having the control unit that specifies the state transitions. Okay, so these are the three basic components that are mostly common in all the automatas, but we are having some specific functionality in the each specific component, right? So we will see those specific functionalities here. The first one is tape. So as I mentioned that this tape is infinite, so a Turing machine consists of infinite tape. So already we know that a tape is divided into sequence of cells. Okay, each cell contains a symbol from some finite alphabet sigma. So uh, that means the infinite tape is divided into sequence of cells. Each cell contains the input symbol, one input symbol that is chosen from alphabet set sigma. There are certain symbols that can be written on tape. Those are called as tape symbols. Okay, and that tape symbol is represented by tau. Tau contains blank and other symbols. Okay, so here one thing here is that in the Turing machine, what will happen is that the tape is consisting of input symbols, right? So let me say I am having the input symbol A, B, B, A, likewise. Okay, suppose I am having that read head at particular cell. Let me say here the input, the tape head is pointing to the input small a. So in the Turing machine, what will happen after reading an input symbol, we perform a write operation on that particular cell. Okay, so that's why we are having here the read and write head. So the head that we consider in the Turing machine is performing read as well as write operation, right? So first we read a input from the input tape, and then after reading it, we perform a write operation there, right? So while performing the write operation, we have to write certain symbol onto the tape, or we may write one particular symbol on a particular cell, right? So that particular symbol that we are writing on a particular cell is called a tape symbol, right? So let me say I have taken, that means I have read small a input, and after reading it, I am writing there blank symbol. So that blank symbol I am representing here is capital B. So in this case, this capital B will become the member of tau. Okay. So tau is nothing but called as a tape symbol. Okay. So whatever the symbols that we write onto that input tape, that belongs to this tau. That belongs to this tau. Okay. So we will discuss these things in the coming sessions clearly. And next one, we are having a head or tape head. So a tape head always points to one of the tape cells. That is the general thing. In a single step, a tape head reads the content of a cell on a tape and replaces it with some other character or symbol, and moves left or right or does not move, right? So here generally if we consider the previous automatons, in those automatons the read head always moves from left to right. Okay, but here the read head or this tape head can move either left side or right side, or may does not move. Okay, so these are the three possibilities that are there for that tape head, right? So first thing, that tape head that we are considering here is read write head, that is capable of reading and writing the symbols onto the tape. And next one, we are and next one, the tape moves either left side or right side or does not move. So these are the three possibilities with the movements related to the tape head. Okay, so let me say here I am having the input something like input symbol small a, right? A, B, and let me say C. So these are the some symbols in input tape. So let me consider that I am having read that tape head pointing to the input symbol B. Okay, so the moment when we read this B, we have to write some symbol on that particular cell. Okay, so that symbol could be the part of tau. That means that symbol that we write onto the input tape belongs to tau. Let me say I am writing the blank symbol. So blank symbol is generally represented by capital B. Okay, so after writing this B, we may move this tape head either left side or right side, or we can keep the tape head at same position. Okay, so it could move towards left so that it will points to input A. It may move towards right so that it points to the input C, or it may be in the same position pointing to the blank symbol capital B. Okay, So this is the speciality of tape head in the Turing machine. So two important properties that you have to remember at this point of time is the tape head is read write head. So after reading, it has to perform the write operation on that particular cell from where it has read. And second important property is that it move it move towards left or right or be in the same position. Okay. So these are the three possibilities related to the movement of that tape head. Okay. Next one, the control unit. So already we know that the control unit or finite control is responsible of performing the state transitions. Okay. So generally in this particular Turing machine, we are going to have the states like initial state, okay, intermediate states, halting states, final states, etc. So here the most important point here is that halt state, right? So already we know that initial state, it is the state from where the Turing machine starts, right? Initial state, it is not a new thing. So every automaton is having one initial state from where that automaton start its execution or starts working. So that the initial state property is same. So here new state that we are having here is the halt state, right? So this is a state in which the Turing machine stops. Okay. So halting state means this is the state in which Turing machine stops. For Turing machine, that halt and the initial state cannot be the same. Okay. So for Turing machine, the halt and the initial state cannot be the same. Okay. So this is the one more important point. So generally, when the Turing machine enters into such particular state, halt state, so whenever the string that the given string is not accepted by the Turing machine, so that in that particular situation, the Turing machine may enter the halt state. Okay. So basically, in case of finite automata, we are going to have something like dead state, right? So dead state generally we used to represent, or we used to represent that that particular set of strings are not going to be accepted by the finite automata, right? So same thing here. If the given input string does not belongs to the language for which that Turing machine was designed, in that situation, the Turing machine enters this halt state. Okay, and remaining states are common, as we know, intermediate states, final states as well. Okay, so this is the model of a Turing machine. So we can say a graphical representation or a pictorial representation of Turing machine. So if you observe, you could see here we are having that infinite tape. Okay, and this is the tape head, which is also called as read write head. And next we are having the control unit, right? So these are the three basic components which are there in the Turing machine and represented in a form of a diagram. Okay. So generally, if you consider this tape, it is somehow it is having different variations. Okay. So in first variation, we could say that tape is infinite in both the direction. That means in the left side as well as the right side, the tape is infinite in both the direction. Next, we may have another variation where the tape is finite. That means it is having that bound or boundary in the left side, and it is infinite in the right side part. And we may have the variation in which we are having that bound or boundary in the right part of the input tape, whereas the left part is infinite. Okay. So these are the various possibilities of the input tape. So whenever this particular property or the configuration of the input tape varies, we are going to get a new version of the Turing machine, right? So we are having different types of the Turing machine. Okay, so those types of the Turing machines uh, depends on those type of the input tape that we are using. Okay, so complete infinite tape we may have one part of the infinite tape, uh, and next one is that we may have one part is finite and another part is infinite. So that means we are going to get different versions or flavors of the Turing machine based on the based on the tape that we are using. Okay. So next one is that we are having this representation where we are saying that how that input is going to be processed from the input tape. Okay. So these are the steps, certain steps which I have taken here to represent how that read and write operations are performed in the input tape, right? So see here, we are having in the step one, we are having that input tape consisting of capital B, small a, small b, capital B. So remember that whenever we write capital B, it is a blank symbol. So it is a blank symbol. So capital B, small b, capital B. So consider that the input is, that means tape head is pointing to the input small a. That means we are reading small a. So after reading small a, the tape head has to perform a write operation there. So in step 2, if you see here, the tape head is pointing to a cell where we have performed a write operation. That means we have written K. So what it means, in step 1 we read input A, in step 2 we performed a write operation in the same cell by inserting the symbol K. Okay, and in third step it is representing that the tape head has moved towards right. Okay, so these three operations we will specify simultaneously whenever we discuss this processing of the input symbol from a particular state. Okay, so in a particular state, if the Turing machine reads one particular input from an input tape, then after reading that input symbol from input tape, Turing machine immediately performs the write operation on the cell from where it has read, and next it moves towards either left or right depending upon the transition function that is specified. Okay. So here in step 3, you could observe that the input tape, that means the tape head that we considered, has moved towards right, so that it is pointing to the next symbol in the input tape, that is small b. Okay. Next, this is the last point here. The tape is infinite, but the input portion is finite, right? So we never have that input as infinite. So that input part or input portion is the finite, and the tape is infinite, right? So you may get a doubt, sir, if we are having the finite portion of the input, which is there in the input tape, then what is the content of the remaining cells? Okay. So in that case, we consider the black symbol, okay, in all the empty cells of the input tape, right? Suppose I am having the input like A, B, C. So to represent this A, B, C, the three cells are enough, right? So what is the content that we are going to have in the remaining cells, as we are considering the tape as infinite? So we are going to have the blank symbols in all the empty cells. Okay, so that is the another important point in the Turing machine design. Okay, like this. Next one. So description of a Turing machine by considering the transition diagram. So this is the transition diagram. That means how do we represent the Turing machine in terms of a transition diagram. So here we are having the two forms or two ways to represent the transition diagram. So first one, here you could see it is the P. So here P and Q are the states. Okay, and we are having a transition from P to Q. Okay, and we are having something like A dash B comma L. So what it means, A is a input symbol, okay, that is read from this input tape, and B is the symbol that is written onto the input tape, okay, and comma L is nothing but it is the move. So how that tape head is moving, it is moving left or right or no move. So generally, to represent the move of a tape head, we use the following letters like L, capital L, which indicates that tape head will move towards left. Next, we represent capital R, that means tape head moves towards right. And next one is capital N, which represents that no move. Okay. So we have to specify these three things as I mentioned in as like step 1, step 2, step 3. The step 1 is that read operation. Okay. Then step 2 is nothing but how you are replacing the input symbol. Okay. That means by which symbol you are replacing the input symbol. That is the second step. So here if you could see A dash B means input A is replaced by B, and then comma L means after replacing A with B the tape head will move towards left. Okay. So small a is the read symbol, dash B is the right symbol. Okay. And next move, it could be either L, R or N. L means left, R means right, N means no move. Okay. So this is one way to represent the transition diagram of a Turing machine. And next one is that the same, that instead of dash we are going to have a slash. Okay. So P is a state and Q is also a state. So arrow is representing the state transition from P to Q. Okay. So here we are having A slash B means input A slash B. That means input A is replaced by a right symbol small b, comma, and this after comma we use the representation for head move. Okay. So it could be either left move, right move or no move. So here as I mentioned R, capital R means after reading A and replacing it with B, read head move towards right side. That means input head moves towards right side. Okay. So this is how we represent this transitions in the transition diagram. Okay. And next one, if you see the transition function here, I am having like delta of qi comma a. So here the transition function delta maps current state and the input symbol. Okay. So here I am considering delta of qi comma a will give qj comma k comma r. Okay. So what it means? In qi, if you process small a, it goes to the qj state, and small a is replaced by k. Okay, input a is replaced by k, and input and the tape head will move towards the right direction. Okay, will move one position towards right. Okay, so here this is how we are representing. So this is like we are having that infinite tape consisting of small a followed by small b followed by small a. So this a, b, a are the input, okay, input portion, and capital B are nothing but blanks in the remaining empty cells, okay. And here see qi, so current state is qi, and the tape head is pointing to the input symbol small a, right? So as per this particular transition function, what will happen? It moves to the state qj. See here, it moves to the state qj, and then it replaces small a with k, and moves one position towards right. So if you see the second part of the diagram, time 2, the qj is the state, arrow is pointing towards b, right? And if you consider the preceding cell of small b, it is k. Okay. So what it means? We have read a, replaced that a with k, and moved the head towards right. Okay. So as I mentioned that these three operations are performed simultaneously. Okay. So while just we could represent like the input pointer is moving towards either left or right, but during that representation we have to consider all the three operations together. Okay. So that's it for the today's session. So just go through this Turing machine concept once. Okay. So just try to understand this basic concepts and basic definitions related to the Turing machine. If you get any queries, let us discuss those queries in the coming sessions. Okay. So thank you for attending this session. Have a nice day.